All right, folks. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Bucks of America podcast, but the cooking edition. Thank you for tuning in on this Friday for this episode. Now, I have the two heavy hitters from the Released Outdoors, and I have Lucas and Jeremiah on the line here, and they're going to talk about a couple different recipes. Now, the cool thing is about this, guys, I have no idea what they're going to be talking about. So this is going to be exciting for you and me. And so hopefully Lucas will send me his recipes, and then I'll post them in the show notes. So this way you guys have an opportunity to grill them up over the weekend. So Lucas, man, why don't you take it away? Tell us about your recipes.
I will. Jeremiah, did you have anything you wanted to throw in here before I get after it?
Nope. Go ahead, man.
All right. So I'll start with a more common one first. So my favorite, obviously everybody's favorite cut is backstrap on a deer. So what I like to do with those is I will, you trim all the silver skin off, and then I actually soak mine in Italian dressing for 4 or 5 hours while I'm prepping all my vegetables. I usually do like a roasted garlic mashed potatoes and asparagus with this, but I like to take that backstrap and you just kind of, it's like you're butterflying it, but you're rolling it out at the same time. So you want like a flat, thin meat of backstrap when you're done.
Okay, so you're essentially butterflying, rolling out. And before we go on one step, how long do you let it marinate? When you let it marinate, do you put it in the fridge or do you do it at room temperature?
Yep. It goes in the fridge for 4 or 5 hours, and then I bring it to room temperature before I basically make my meat mat, as I call it. You're basically slicing and rolling the backstrap at the same time. So you end up getting a thin, long slab of backstrap. And then I layer it. So I'll make a roasted garlic horseradish sauce.
Ooh, yum.
That I will lay down across the whole thing. And then I will, while that's marinating and I'm getting everything ready, I will saute some mushrooms and some onions. And then you just roll it up real tight, like a big sushi roll is what I call it. And then you pin it, you toothpick it. And I like to get my grill, I'd say about 500 degrees. I want my grill real hot because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to char the heck out of it. The outside, get a nice crust on the outside, and then I throw it in the oven at 250 for a couple hours until I get the right, doneness, you want to call it.
Okay.
That's personal preference. Everybody does their own spin on that, and I like mine pretty rare. That's just me. And then you just slice it up and serve it with your roasted garlic, mashed potatoes, and asparagus, and it's a home run. I can't tell you how many people that I've turned on to that say they can't stand venison. They're like, oh man, that's the best beef tenderloin I've ever had in my life. Like, well, that's venison, guy.
That's awesome.
That's one of my favorites. And then the other one I got for you, this is kind of a hometown deal here where I'm from. There's two guys that kind of mentored me growing up, and this is one of the things they like to do. So when I'm quartering deer out, I'll take a whole hind quarter and I'll cut it off, at the hock down there. And I will take that whole hind quarter to my local butcher, and I'll have him cure it like a pork ham. So they cure They cure that deer quarter as a pork ham. So when you get it back, it's already cooked, right? So we like to take it another step further. We'll put a mustard base on that bark that's already there. We'll season it with all our favorite seasonings. Usually it's either the good shit or the bullshit dry rub that you can buy.
Okay.
And we'll throw it back in the smoker for another 4 or 5 hours just to get that flavor going. And then we'll bring it into a big pan roaster, and we'll cook it another, hour and a half in that. And then you just cut it all off the bone and you slice it on a slicer. And it's almost like a corned beef pastrami texture after that.
Interesting. So you leave the bone in then?
Yeah, we leave the bone in. I make a small cut, go in there, remove that lymph node that's in there.
Okay.
And then I literally just leave the bone in, take it to the processor. They smoke it like a pork ham. They inject it, cure it, everything like a pork ham.
Okay.
I get it back, put mustard base on it, rub the mustard all over it, and then put all my seasoning on it, smoke it for, 4 or 5 hours. And we usually smoke real low. We usually smoke at 250, 200 degrees.
Oh, all right. I was
And
going to
then-
ask if you do a cold smoke since it's already been cooked, or do you just go ahead and do a low and slow? All right, that makes sense.
Low and slow. That way we don't dry it out too bad. And then we'll bring it back. We'll cut it off the bone, put it in our meat slicer, and slice it real thin or thick. We'll make sandwiches out of those. We'll make we'll shred them up, put them with like a vinegar-based barbecue sauce. Make like pulled venison sandwiches. I mean, there's just so many things you can do. It's basically venison ham, is what it is. You know, and it's fantastic. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on it.
I think so too, because I did come across a recipe like that, similar to that on Pinterest. And it's like this could be something like a fun one. I don't have a quarter to do because everything I've from this past season I've already broken it down. But I saw somebody saw venison pastrami. It's like this could be interesting. But man, that sounds delicious.
It's pretty good. And I mean, there's a million different variations you can do with it. And another thing, I like to take that venison ham, or even with backstrap. I'll do this with backstrap. If I'm smoking a backstrap, I will take, my favorite bourbon or whatever, which is, Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
Ooh, yeah, that's some good stuff. I'm a bourbon guy, so it's like
that's what I'm drinking right now.
Oh, nice. I'm not actually. I had to behave because I have another podcast. Oh, I've seen that. How is that pod?
Dude,
how is that bourbon there?
If you like Crown Royal, TX is as good or better.
See, I have a friend of mine, Shea Butler, out of Illinois. He had TX, and it's like it's not here in La Crosse yet.
Let me tell you, man. I'm working on this smaller guy. It was about here when we started.
Yeah.
But I've got the 1.75 upstairs, and I love my Crown Royal, I love my Crown Peach. I love my regular Crown. I love my Wild Turkey 101. Well, I've got some, local Montana bourbons, but TX is probably number one on my list at the moment.
Okay, I was looking for somebody. When you pull it up, it's like I just saw this past weekend. It's like I want to buy a bottle.
Oh man, I'll probably have to mail you one because I freaking love it. I mean, it's like almost like Crown Vanilla but better.
Ooh, I like that. Sounds very buttery, very very smooth.
Yeah, and I'm a big, I like mixing my bourbons with clear pops. I'm a big, 7 and 7s, 7-Up guy, and I'm telling you, if you like Crown, you'll love this.
Nice. What else were you mentioning, Lucas?
So this whatever bourbon you like, I prefer the Wild Turkey Rare Breed or Wild Turkey Long Branch, but I will actually take that and I'll take a backstrap, and I'll cut it down to size, trim it up, get it ready, or that venison ham, and I will mix that bourbon with honey, and I will baste that backstrap or that ham as I'm smoking it, and it gets like a honey bourbon crust on it.
Ooh.
And it is phenomenal.
Ooh, man,
you can put a little bit of brown sugar in there if you want. It's so good.
Man, you're talking dirty to me here, man. This sounds delicious.
But I will give a tip, quick pro tip. I don't know. Okay, pro tip's the wrong word, but quick tip. What do you do with the neck meat on your venison? Let me ask you this. All that neck meat on venison, what do you do with it?
I usually take the spine out and then I smoke it.
Well, that's one way to do it. I've never tried that. But what I do is I'll take the spine out and I will cut all that, because that neck meat's kind of a tougher cut. I'll take that, especially off an old ruddy buck, and I'll make stew meat out of it.
Oh, okay.
And then you basically make like beef tips and rice or beef tips and noodles, but substitute the beef for those chunks of neck meat stew meat. And it's phenomenal. It's so good.
Yeah, see, I have a brine that I like using for neck meat, and it has pepper chips in it, and you put enough of them in that it gets a nice good bite with it. And if you do nice low and slow for about 8 hours, but at 200 degrees, man, it just turned out delicious. Because I had a friend of mine last 2020, we were on hunting, and one of them he shot the buck right in the back of the spine there. So it's like, well, I like use this. Like, I'm gonna try something out real fast here. So took the shot of the slug out, cleaned up the wound, then pulled the esophagus out and pulled out the spine, and then I just put it in put the entire thing in a big large container, let it brine for 30 hours or so, and then we pulled it back out. We put it in the smoker. We used cherry wood for it. Oh man, it kissed. Oh man, it was delicious. Now, getting back to your mixture, what was your? You said you smoked it again for that ham style or the pastrami. What wood do you use to smoke?
Oak.
Oak. Okay. Now, what does it deliver? How does it? Is it light? Is it like a heavier smoke? Is it?
It just depends. We've got an old oak tree that fell down on one of our hunting properties, and I cut it up, and I've been playing with it. That I feel like the oak wood itself is easier to control the temperature with. It's a very forgiving. It'll get real hot if you're not careful, but it's real easy. It's a real even heat. So I'll use my oak as the main source of my heat for the smoke, and then I'll throw like one of the farmers I got had a couple apple trees and an apricot tree that fell down, and I cut those up. So we'll use apple wood or apricot wood, or heck, I've even got some Bradford pear wood that it smokes real good.
Ooh, yum! I don't have access to pear, but I got a smoker for Father's Day, even though it's a few months ahead. And I've got some mesquite, and I got some pecan wood, and some apple wood. So I've been kind of experimenting, especially like if you get a little curious about eggs. Eggs smoked, game changer, man. But what I recommend doing first is that you boil them first, then peel them, and then stick them in there. You about 45 minutes to an hour. Anything more than that it'll become rubbery. But boy, does it taste delicious! And I was surprised it didn't give me gut rot. I was concerned that I'd probably clear out the house. My wife would probably kick me out of bed, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I'm going to take a spin on that. I'm going to try some smoked deviled eggs.
That's my next thing to do is smoked deviled eggs. After I get them smoked, and then my wife has a girlfriend that just has a solid recipe for it. So she wants to try it next time.
In honor of turkey season, what do you normally do with the legs on your turkey?
I haven't got a turkey yet, so I'm all ears.
So there's a lot of different ways that I've made turkey legs, and a lot of them have turned out real crappy, and a lot of them turned out real good. So
all right.
The legs on the turkeys, there's so many tendons in the legs. I mean, they're almost like bones.
Yes.
What I like to do is I take a spin off of like a carne asada steak.
Okay, I'm following you.
So I'll cut the leg bone off, where the scales meet the meat is where I'll cut that joint, and then I'll make a brine. Basically, it's cilantro, onions, 2 limes, like a teaspoon of white vinegar, and then you can put whatever seasonings in you want there. I usually put like a little bit of garlic and a little bit of cayenne. I make carne asada a little different.
All right.
But
yum. Sounds delicious.
I'll take an orange, and I will take the peel off the orange, and I'll get all the oils out of the orange and throw it in there, and I'll let that sit overnight in that bag. And once it'll turn a little funny color just because of all the acid from the orange and the lime and the vinegar. And then you just throw it in a crock pot with a little bit of chicken stock, and you just let her go on low for all day. And you come home, you shred it, pull all the tendons out, and then you get a little bit of enchilada sauce with some corn tortillas. You dip that corn tortilla in the enchilada sauce, throw it in a hot skillet, get that flavor in that corn tortilla. And then you take a little bit of olive oil, throw down in another skillet, and take that pulled turkey leg meat, throw it in there and get a nice crisp on it. Boom, slap it in that corn tortilla, and you've got a bomb turkey leg tortilla.
That sounds delicious. I know I watched this recent season of Meat Eater, and they did a pressure cooker. And I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty efficient too. But it's like I don't have a pressure cooker, but I do have a slow cooker. That's the only thing. Sounds like we can make something like that happen.
I don't have a pressure cooker either. That's I love my crock pot, and I'm usually I don't know 100 miles away from home every day at work. So I love that slow cooker. I can do about anything in it.
Oh man, it's like, especially when you get that master, it's a game changer. My dad was a construction worker for 40 years and doing the long 12, 14-hour days and stuff like that. And that was what his go-to was. Like, if he knew he was going to be a sun up to sundown day, he would just put whatever he's putting in there, put it on low and cook it all day long. Especially like and on Fridays when I would go for my mom to his place and he would have a chuck roasted. Oh, just delicious, especially if he got some good shallots in there. Man, you just couldn't go anything wrong.
I'm a meat and potatoes guy, man. So anything I can do with wild game and potatoes, I'm all about it.
Heck yeah, man. That's the way to be. Well, man, thank you guys for coming on the podcast. Lucas, man, those sounds like some delicious recipes. I don't know how I'm going to pull off that second one, but it's like you gave me some inspiration here, man. But thank you guys for coming. Yeah, venison ham. That sounds real good. I'll have to see you.
Well, just hit up a local meat processor or make your own ham, man. But I cheat and go to that meat processor, and those guys are real good to me. I'll take them 2 or 3 deer venison quarters a year for a ham, and it comes out killer every time. So
there we go. I don't blame
matter
you.
of fact, we're taking one on the hog trip with us. We're going to smoke it, cut it up for sandwiches for the hog blinds.
Oh, beautiful. That's the best way to do it. This way you don't have to worry about getting out and leaving for lunch.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for tuning on to another episode of the Bucks of America podcast. You can find these guys on Instagram and Facebook. Check the show notes for the information to find their TikTok as well. And you guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode.